What's up, gamers? It's your boy. Alright, so my favorite deck in the TCG, and the deck that I started playing right when the game came back a lot on Dueling Book, was Tearlament. Okay? I loved it so much that I paid for coaching from the Pack TCG. Bro showed me the goo, showed me the sauce at the time. I played a lot of different variations. There was a really cool combo with Shinobi, Shinobi Necro, and the Chaos Ruler card, which lets you go into either an early Baron de Fleur, while like kind of setting up full combo with like a 2-card combo that got you everything you ever wanted without any of the Tearlament stuff, and then you still had the entire Tearlament line backup. It also lets you go into Chaos Ruler, Necroworld Shinobi, and any other dark monster, which is you'll be able to get from the Lunalight line. Lets you go into Curious sending the Spell Canceller, and then Spell Canceller bringing it back with Dugaris. And then you end on Spell Canceller plus whatever end board you really wanted. And that was back when cards like Dark Ruler and Runic were super strong and really terrorizing the metagame. The Lunalight line, which is like a 2-card combo of pretty much either of these 2 Lunalights, and then one of these lets you do whatever you want. By having a Lunalight on field, having this in the grave, you discard a card, or having one of these 2 in hands, it doesn't matter. Discarding this card, discarding the Kaleido Chick, adding the Yellow Martin, or adding the Tiger. It just kind of like depends on where you're at in the combo, but it lets you go get 4 Strix for Zephyros, and then you'll be able to bounce the Lunalight Tiger like 2 or 3 times. Get like 2 or 3 Monster Reborns, go into an early Abyss Dweller, which is really nice because you're gonna be facing a lot of Tearlaments. Go into a early Curious because of the different kinds of typings that you'll have. Well, they'll all be dark. As well as I've been seeing a lot of I've been seeing some Chaos Hunters while grinding a little bit. The one that prevents your opponent from banishing. It's level 7 Dark Monster. I can't remember the exact name of it, and there was something else I've been seeing recently, like the Herald. Yeah, been seeing some Diviners, which is nice. Been seeing a couple Diviners. Been seeing like some heavy green light and orange light packaging. But the one I kind of ended up taking a little bit of, I was running Dangers for a little bit. I thought the Dangers were good. I think the Dangers are good. I just don't think they're strong enough. I think they were better when we didn't have the Ishizu support, but since we do have the Ishizu support, we can cut them out a little bit. Other cards that I kind of want to run are Crow. I think DD Crow's crazy. I think Ghost Bell is crazy. I think cards that really affect the stuff there. I think Maxi's mid, unironically, against this deck. And the reason why is because they can just stop at any point in their combo, and as long as their hand is good enough, they'll just play on your turn. They'll just simply play on your turn. And so you having Maxied them on their turn, doesn't matter. I think every game that I've been Maxied, I've won. Because they'll Maxi me, I'll pass, I'll have like either Havness, or I'll have like a Mugdora plus a Primeval Pop, or like a Kelda plus Primeval Pop. I'll have like a Kelbeck, or a Guido, or I'll have some Tearlament monster and a Scream. I'll be able to use some kind of like Snow combo. I'll be able to use a Soliek and then pop one of my Tearlaments I have, getting a fusion going and going from there. Like there's so many things that you can do on your opponent's turn that passing with Maxi doesn't feel bad. Let me go ahead and actually just show you guys the deck. Let me explain the deck list to you. So we're like 1 orange light. We want to get these fairies in the grave as quickly as possible. So an orange light is just like also a negate. If you open it in your hand, plus any of the fairies here, it protects you from either Maxi if you really don't feel confident playing around it. Protects you from Dimension Shifter. I think that's the 2 main ones that like it will save you from. Unless your hand's really bad, in which case you can use it to like eat like an Ash Blossom, a Droll Lockbird, or a Ghost Bell. 2 of all of the Tearlament names, including Rhinoheart. 2 of these because every Tearlament name is insane. 2 Rhinoheart because you never really want to see more than one of these. It's the best normal summon in your deck, but also like sending a Tearlament name doesn't really matter because you're going to hit all 3 anyways, as long as you're going around the combo effectively enough and you're planning ahead decently enough. And so a lot of times you kind of just want to hit some of your better cards like in the grave. So in order to keep this deck to 40, I decided to put Rhinoheart to 2. 2 Keldo, because all we can run. 3 Mudora. I was running this at 2, but I think because we're running Exchange of the Spirit and the Gravekeeper's Trap card, I think the Mudora Shuffle Back 5 is good enough, as well as it is the Searcher for the Gravekeeper's Trap, which is really nice. 2 Kelbeck, 2 Guido, 1 Lunalight Tiger. The reason we're running the Lunalight Tiger is we're running the Lunalight package, which is Chick, Yellow Martin, Tiger, and then 3 Perfume. Perfume's not once per turn, so as long as you end up with one of these in the graveyard, you can search the entire line, which this is equal to 1, 2, 3 material by itself. Not including depending on how many of these you have in hand and the way you can go about it, it's actually equal to like 5 material, because you can go 4 Strix searching the Zephyros, which will then bounce the Lunalight Tiger, which will then allow you to revive either of these 2 again. They also give you really easy access to Curious. I think Curious is crazy. Curious sending Exchange of the Spirit as a guaranteed send is really good, as well as being able to send any other names or any of the Kelbeck or Agido that you need, depending on what your current setup is. Playing a Terraforming, just because I think Primeval Planet is really good. I was playing Rainbow Bridge, I think is what it's called. Yes, Rainbow Bridge of Salvation for a little bit, and a Necro Valley. I think Necro Valley is a worse Abyss Dweller, and so you're never really happy about it, as well as it's a worse Exchange of the Spirit Gravekeeper's Trap Hole. I decided to drop the Necro Valley, and because of that, I decided to drop the Rainbow Bridge of Salvation. It's really good for searching your field spell, but a lot of time your field spell will end up in grave, so you have to shuffle it back in with Mudora or Kelbeck. It just seemed like kind of like the weakest part of my engine, since it added 2 bricks that, while they are like nice discard fodder, like I could send the Crystal Beast Emerald Tortoise to the grave, or even shuffle it back for pretty much any of the fusions. I just don't think it was that impactful. So I decided to get rid of it, but I could be swayed. Instant Fusion is a crazy 1-card starter. It does everything you want and more. 1 Primeval Planet, because it's all you can play. 3 Scream. Scream is insane. Scream is just a mill 3, and then your opponent's monsters have minus 500 for the turn whenever a monster is summoned, as long as you control a Tearlament monster, which, is crazy. A lot of times in the matchup, whoever has the Scream typically will win, just because, holy fuck, having a Rukulos at 3k and then 2500, the 3k will win, and you got that body still, baby. Let's go. Super Poly is crazy. Also, just fucking insane. I don't know why they unsemi-limited this card, because this just makes this format super swingy, and you kind of have to play around it, otherwise you'll get fucked. Neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation, which sucks. Exchange of the Spirit is the only real brick we're playing in this deck, aside from maybe Zephyros, but even that's kind of like debatable. The effect doesn't matter, we just want this in the graveyard. That's it. That's the only reason we play this card, is for the graveyard, because it makes this guy be able to set traps from the grave. It makes this guy be able to mill an extra 5 from either player's deck. And then both of these guys can shuffle back an extra 5 cards every time they shuffle, which makes them really nice. 1 Crime, a spell trap card negate, is usually pretty important. Soliek, the continuous monster gate is really good, as well as it is a searcher if it's sent to the graveyard, which is also really nice. And then Gravekeeper's Trap Hole, I think is just a better Necro Valley for this deck in particular, just because you're able to consistently get your Exchange of the Spirit into the grave, and you will be able to pretty consistently get the Gravekeeper's Trap onto the field, at least set, if not already activated, using a Medora effect. There are arguments for changing the list a little bit, because you do hard lose to certain cards, such as Abyss Dweller. If your opponent Abyss Dwellers you, there's not much you can do, but I think that just comes with the territory. You could play cards like Forbidden Droplet to try and play around that, but it is what it is. Dimension Shifter, really annoying to deal with, hard to out. Gravekeeper's Trap Hole and Exchange of the Spirit. The only out you have to that is normal summoning a Mudora or a Keldo and then shuffling the Exchange of the Spirit back into their deck. And then there's one more thing. What was it? Oh, Necro Valley. Necro Valley, you don't really have an out to because it stops all your cards from being moved in the graveyard, which kind of locks everything down. There's nothing you can do. So if they out your big monsters, or if they prevent you from even getting a big monster on your side of the field, typically the only way you can kind of win is if you somehow get like a format Apo down, or even like an Underworld Goddess, and just hope that they can't play under it. One of the decks I ended up going against was a Flew Under Ree's deck that just hard played the Necro Valley turn 1, and I ended up losing because there was nothing I could do to out it. But yeah, we can go ahead and get into a game. I've been having some good amount of games. I've been playing, I think I played like 10 games a day. I went from Plat 5 to Plat 3, which is nice. We will be going first because that is what God has willed for us to be able to do. So we shall do it. And we'll see what our hand looks like. Zephyros, Rhinoheart, Keldo, Kelbeck, Tearlament. Okay, so we have a couple options of what we can do. We can say fuck it and just try and outvalue them right here, right now, by going Keldo to special summon it, adding either a Mudora or a Kelbeck, or I mean an Agito, and then sending the Kelbeck to the grave. That'll allow us both to mill 5. And then they're probably going to be on Tearlament, so it'll just tend to come down to the mills. We'll have a shuffler out, which is good. Or we can go Rhino Heart, normal summon, and see what that can get us. We can send a Sharing, then go into the Kick Kolos, then Kick Kolos, send or add the Merly. The Merly we can mill 8, and then go from there. I kind of like that play a little bit more, I think. Or actually, another play that we can't, we'll go into the Sharing here. Another play that we could do is instead of activating the Sharing here, so we shouldn't have activated the Rhino at all, we can special summon this, mill 5, go into Abyss Dweller. That doesn't seem like that great of a play. So we're gonna go ahead and do this instead. Yep, go through the line here, like so. Make her Kick Kolos effect. We're gonna add the Merly to hand. We got the Sharing to hand. We'll add the Merly. I like milling 8. We're gonna go ahead and mill a 5 first though, and just see how things go now. We're gonna go ahead and add Kelbeck. I think adding Kelbeck is better here. Because it's a bounce, so it'll give us some amount of interruption. Then we'll go and activate the Kelbeck and Grave. They are that deck. Interesting. We'll go ahead and activate the Scream. I don't think we'll activate the Merly here. We didn't hit anything I'd like to do. Going to Rukolos is nice, but not super important. Going to add the Soliak. This is fine. If we hit a Rhino Heart, we can send the Soliak, which is good. Since they're on Exo Sister, we can play a little bit more aggressive. They didn't do anything scary to us yet. We'll go ahead and do the one in the grave. And then we'll activate Kick Close first, and then the Merly. This deck, you really have to pay attention to time too, because you will run out. I've lost 2 games in time, which is like crazy. It really hurts my heart. Mill 3, I milled Nagito, milled a Rhino Heart. We'll activate the Agito, activate the Rhino Heart. We'll Rhino Heart send Soliak. And then Agito, mill 5 more. Activate the Soliak. I'm gonna go add the Havness to hand. And then from here, we can make... We can either go Dugaris. What all do we have milled so far? We got that guy, that guy, that guy. The Kaleido Chick. No Martin, though. We'll activate the Mudora. We'll shuffle back the Agito, this guy, and the planet. We're going to go ahead and activate the perfume. We will send the Zephyros here. Zephyros will grab us Tiger. Pendulum Scale a Tiger. Activate the Tiger. Tiger, bring back the lady here. Kaleido Chick. And they conceded. Yeah. The line there was bring back Kaleido Chick, bounce with Zephyros, and then we make Curious in exchange of the Spirit. Mill another 3, and from that position we can make a Time Thief Redoer. Time Thief Redoer will allow us to go on their turn to send the Rhino Heart. Rhino Heart, we could send the Merly. Merly grab Merly effect and Rhino Heart effect to send a Sharing. We also have a Havness and a Monster Negate up. I felt pretty confident about that. Seemed pretty good. As well as if any cards were sent to their graveyard, we were going to be able to do something or other. Yeah, this is unironically just like the best deck in that format. I don't know if this is the best list in particular. I forgot to go over the extra deck. Mudragon for Poly, Super Poly, just really good. Kit 1, Dragaspelia 1, Ruklos 1, Kaleido Heart 1. Like, we're just playing a bunch of 1-ups because this is just like a huge toolbox for us to use. Time Thief Redoer just really synergizes really well with the Tearlament kit. Dugaris, crazy. It's draw 2 to continue the combo, or it can revive any card that we want. So that's also fucking really nice. It has less application here because we're not playing something like Spell Canceller, but if you want, you could just throw in a Spell Canceller here, and boom, there you go. That's just, you cancel the spells, and you can consistently get into the graveyard because you consistently have access to Curious. Dark, which is really good in the mirror, or just against most decks in general. Elf, can make Elf with Merly, and so that's a mill 3 on your opponent's turn, which is really nice, as well as targeting protection, which is also really nice. IP lets you go ahead and go into either an Appaloosa or a Underworld Goddess. You can even technically make an Elf, but I wouldn't recommend that typically. These two are the ones that you typically go into in this deck. They're just nice if you really need to remove towers, or if you really need to get some extra monster negates going. Force Tricks is a searcher for Zephyros, so if you cut out the Kaleido Chick line and the Zephyros line, you can cut out the Force Tricks. You could play. There's so many things you could play in this deck. I think there's no specific best way, other than what we were typically playing in the TCG and the OCG, which is you cut out all this garbage, you just play 3 of all the Tearlament names, play pretty much 3 of all of these names, and then some Bestials. But we don't have the Bestials, so we kind of gotta finagle a little bit. And I think Exchange of the Spirit, it was a bit of a meme. It's super, super fucking annoying if your opponent hits it in their top 20, because that's what they're gonna be milling typically. And it's something you gotta play, you have to be able to play around. Same thing with the Beast Dweller. You have to be able to play around it. Luckily, this deck can, because you've got 4 different hand traps in order to beat the Abyss Dweller, in order to beat the Gravekeeper's Trap as well. You have 5 cards that can beat that there. If you don't hit any of those, you are cooked, though. Snow also beats Abyss Dweller, which is nice. Everything else, though, is up to chance. If you are playing against the mirror, which you should always just assume you're playing against the mirror, you typically want to make Abyss Dweller as soon as you possibly can before you activate an Agito or Kelbeck, but typically that's not possible. But if you can, you should always do it, even if it makes your end board a little bit weaker, because Abyss Dweller is an FTK against this deck if their hand isn't good enough. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it.